Welcome back to another Gaming Memories video. Here we are taking a look at a racing game called Deadheat Road that was released on the PlayStation in Japan in the early stages of 1996, and this game is in Japan only. It was never released outside of that region. So I happened to actually just kind of stumble across this game as I was actually looking around for other types of racing games in particular to play, because I know myself, like, outside of Europe and America, Japan actually has a crazy amount of racing games that were released on the PlayStation way back in the mid-90s. And a lot of these games, even for me, I've never even heard of up until recently, and I'm still finding games that I didn't even think existed at all, even as researching this video. So there is a lot out there, like, you know, there's definitely so many different types of racing games, and it's intriguing just to find them and actually just want to try and explore them. Essentially, this is just your typical arcade type racer game where you've got, say, a certain amount of tracks and cars that you can race with, each with their own attributes. Could we feature in this here is on the loading screen, you have a little mini game, kind of like Chase HQ and stuff like that, back from way back in the old 8-bit days. So that's quite a fun feature you don't see in too many games. Now, first impressions of the game, graphically, and the environment, it actually looks decent. The cars, I will admit, doesn't look as good compared to the rest of the game, and it does remind me very much likes of Ridge Race and even likes of Tokyo Highway Battle. It's got that kind of cartoony vibe to it. Now, it does look pretty cool, and I've actually had quite a few goes of it, and it is enjoyable for the most part, but I will admit the handling of the cars do leave a lot of questions, because it can be very, very difficult to handle the cars, especially going around corners. You can drift the cars around the corners, but unlike the likes of Ridge Racer, where it is quite easy to get the car to drift and even control the drift and master it to a certain point, this here takes a little bit more work and fettling to try and figure it out, and a lot of the time, 9 times out of 10, it doesn't always work. And the one thing I will admit now, from the times I've played this, I still have yet to win actually a race on it, because it is very, very difficult to win a race, because you'll be crashing so much. And you, like Ridge Racer, you've always got like a nemesis type car that's always the main car that you're racing against throughout the entire race, regardless of the other cars that are on track at any given point. And you can never really get too far away, and even if you do happen to pull off a bit of a lead, the second you crash once or twice, the car catches up with you literally within 5 to 10 seconds and will pass you, and it's very, very hard to try and get past it again. So it is quite difficult. Now, you do have two different views. You have a behind the car view, and obviously you have like this type of view here, the first person view. This here is probably the best view to use in the game, because it's easier to navigate the corners and so forth, but again, it's still very, very hard to go around, especially the hairpin type corners. You will always crash into walls, so it does take a bit of getting used to. But at the same time, like, I wasn't expecting much when I was playing it, because again, I'd only just realised this game existed, like, and it was just fun to just jump in and just give it a go and see what I think. Yeah, I will admit there's definitely better racing games out there, and especially arcade type racers. But for what it is, if you want something that's just a quick, fun, enjoyable playthrough for a couple of minutes, it's grand to give it a go. Now, mind you, you will struggle to win races on it. That's the one thing I will say, because in order to progress, you do actually have to actually win the races. That's the one thing you notice with it when you're playing through the campaign. But like most of these other arcade type of games, you've got only a certain amount of tracks that you can race on. I think it's only like 3 or 4 tracks, and you've got a limited amount of types of cars. But I just like the whole aesthetic of it. I like that cartoony, arcadey kind of style of the graphics in that. And again, it was still in the early stages of the likes of games development on the 32-bit era with these type of games, so you can clearly see that they weren't as refined as games were as the PlayStation later on in its life cycle. But it's still interesting to go back and play these games and just see what they look like and see what they think, because even if they may not be as enjoyable, there is certain quirks in them that do stand out. That's the one thing I loved a bit, like I always keep saying about the PlayStation, is I always love to explore all these type of games. because there was always something unique. Even the games that weren't that great, there was always something in it that kind of appealed to you that you would like, even though it was, I say, difficult to play. But I just always find that just the console in that era for me brought so much, and there was so much like atmosphere and a really unique vibe to the games that you were playing, regardless of whether they were good, great, or not so good or bad. They all offered something different that just kind of left you with a lasting impression, which I always thought was quite unique. But again, like, as I'm exploring and finding out more about the likes of games outside of Europe and America, it's unbelievable the amount of games that were released outside of those regions. Like there was a ton of games released in Europe and in the US for the PlayStation, but the Japanese market has an insane amount of games. Again, they do vary from the likes of okay to not great, and then obviously some excellent games. But again, it's worthwhile exploring, and there is more and more of these games becoming more available to play, so it is worthwhile actually having a look. Now, there's still some games that are quite difficult to find. The only way that you can really get them is like paying for them, like on eBay through online bids. Now these type of games are getting quite expensive, so they are. So unless you're willing to pay a hefty premium for them, you know, if you're a collector, by all means give it a go. But if not, there's still other ways of playing the games, but some of the games are quite rare now that you can only get them in physical copies. You won't be able to get them online, other than saying buying the physical discs. So, because it's a case of just it's up to your own preference, like pretty much whatever way you want to play these games. For me, I used to actually collect a lot of games over the years, but I've since had to start kind of selling on a load of my games because I actually don't have any room to keep them anymore. I've nowhere to put them, so I've actually had no choice but to start getting rid of them. But again, in a lot of ways, it also gives other people that haven't played these type of games, that would like to play them again or haven't experienced them, an opportunity to actually play them and enjoy them as much as I did. So it is going to a worthy cause in that sense. But anyway, this here game, like, for what I played of it, I did enjoy it. It was difficult, but I just like the whole aesthetic of it. I just like these type of graphics in games. I know they're not as polished as, say, Gran Turismo or other type of games, but I just think that they're still unique in their own way. So I played it for a little while, had a few goes. Now I will admit I couldn't win a race no matter how hard I tried, because more tracks, when you play on different tracks, they do get more difficult. There's more turns and twists, more hairpins, and then the handling on the car can be quite difficult. But again, it's still fun just to play it, just to experience it, just for a quick blast and see what you think of it yourself. So what are your thoughts on Deadheat Road for the PlayStation? Have you experienced it? Have you actually had the chance to play it at all? And what are your thoughts on it? Did you enjoy it or not? Make sure to let me know down in the comments below. Also, if you have enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and hit that subscribe button, and also hit the bell icon to be updated whenever I release future videos, as I will be exploring and trying to make more videos based on these type of games, not only for myself to play, but to share with everyone else, for people that may not have even seen them before, because there's definitely a lot of games on the PlayStation that's worth exploring. And as always, make sure to keep playing those classic games and enjoying them, and make sure to keep those gaming memories alive.